Howdy y'all, and welcome back to another Filament Bros YouTube video. Today we will be talking about the irregularities and the normal basics that we see when 3D printing y'all's prints, kind of the troubles that can arise when something like that happens, or how we tackle a situation if that's the case. Hope y'all enjoy. I'll be making a model right here. It'll be sped up for y'all to see. Hope y'all enjoy. Okay, so now that we have finished our model, a couple things that I want to look at before we move on. As you may have seen, usually this is not exactly how you would make a model, and obviously this has no architectural background, so these are just masses, but they do kind of cover the basic things that we want to talk about. First of all, so right here, there's an archway. Sometimes I've seen people move these specific things over, and what that causes to do is for the archway to kind of go at a 0 point. Unfortunately, when that does go into Bambu or whatever printing services you're going through, it's not going to be able to read this as a volume, because that's actually how the printer reads spaces and reads mass. It signifies it as volume, and obviously this is not, even though like this specific length right here may be okay, this one won't be, so it'll pop up basically broken apart. Some easy thing to fix this is you can easily just keep this mass back on here, and therefore that means that there will be mass that it can connect to, so these two objects will be connected to, and obviously it'll still have that perfect rounded arch because it'll have almost a background to build off of. Now that we've covered that, something that I do want to go into is things like this. So this would be a little bit of a railway system. Obviously this is like massive compared to this human because this is an actual human scale, but once it's scaled down, these rails are super small as well as they're elevated. So keeping them on a platform like this is just going to be a pain for everybody involved. For you, once it prints, it's not going to look good. It's probably not going to do the thing that you want it to have. Considering that this could also be a spherical object, this will probably not print very well because it has to print on itself when it's a sphere. Something that I suggest you guys do early on is to split these. I have everything in groups because that's how I like to operate in SketchUp. Everything in a separate group, not really groups within groups. That kind of complicates everything. Then you just rotate it. Perfect, using that, and there you go. So that way we can print this separate from here, and it will actually print with this bottom part as a surface and with everything else, and it will turn out perfect. What we really don't want is for it to be held up like this. This causes a lot more filament to be printed on this bottom layer, and for the tree supports to kind of wrap around like this and kind of basically waste filament. So you're using more filament to actually hold the thing than you are to actually print it. Something else that is kind of key, especially in the designs now that I'm using, is I like to use like a little lodge almost in my designs, meaning that, and you may have seen this, but there is a hole here in this mass that I'm going to be able to print, quote unquote, and then there's a little spot here that will click when I place it into the site. So that means that it'll be a perfect fit. It'll snap right on. Something that you may want to consider is the fact that your prints may have a little bit of like thickness or like rub on the side of it. You may have to, especially specifically on this side, let me move this back up for a second. On this side, since that is also being connected to something here, you may have to sand down this face right here or this face right here, just due to the fact that the printer is not gonna exactly line up everything because obviously it doesn't know it, and it reads it as two separate masses. Let's see. Another thing is, for example, I wanted to talk about this roof. This roof kind of has the same concept problem as this archway right here, is that the fact that this kind of goes to a net 0 point, although it's not a curve and so it won't last as long. Something that I do suggest you do is take this off right here, and either in Bambu or whatever you prefer to use, you can rotate it vertically, just like that on its side. That way it'll just print the same piece just over and over again up vertically. This allows for there to be less problems, especially involving triangles. Obviously this is just a conceptual mass, but it has the least amount of problems, considering that a lot of what you probably want to do when lining up for your prints is to be able to make all your printing things kind of on the same base, like on the same platform, kind of all lined up next to each other. Be like, hey, this is what I want to print. It kind of helps us as well as you to kind of decide what you need to print instead of just sending a bunch of separate pieces everywhere. I like to line up everything like on this axis, on this red axis. That way, if there are any problems, for example, I've asked my friends to do this, and now that they've lined it up, I can be like, hey, this is the piece, because it'll line up in Bambu or whatever software you're using. It'll line up and I can specifically see which piece that is, like which number piece it is. I can send the picture back. I can say it's object 4. They know exactly what I'm talking about. I just have to specify, circle it, point it out. It makes it super simple for the customer as well as us. Well, that is all that I have for you guys today. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. I hope this helps in your designs and your model making. Please go to the comments if you have any questions. Have a wonderful rest of your day.